So hello, everyone. This is Mary Kurek with Frontrunners Innovate. And of course, we always like to spotlight people who are doing unique and interesting things around the world that create impact in a particular space. And I'd say maybe women's empowerment and equality and inclusion, diversity and inclusion sort of fits well with the young lady that we're talking with today out of London. And this is Yemi Jackson. And she is a CEO and founder of Engage Transform. And we deal with the recruitment of and the looking out for leadership positions of women, because there's an inequality about that when we're talking to Yemi about these things. So we want to talk to her about that. And then also, I think that you also have founded another organization that has to do with inclusivity. And so we'll talk about that. But Yemi, we want to talk about first your background. Where did you come from that brought you into this space? So
Oh wow. Yes, nice. Well, so thank you for the opportunity, Mary. Thank you. Yes, really awesome to be able to share my history, my background with you. I was born in Nigeria, and I came to UK when I was 11, and very bright-eyed, bushy tail. Really was just an adventure, because obviously came in with the eye of a child, and just a wonderful adventure here. And that was a very, very long time ago, because I'm not going to give away my age.
I wouldn't ask. I wouldn't ask you to.
And I think, I mean, obviously, some of my memories of Nigeria is kind of almost a bit faded now, but for me, it was an adventure as a child, coming into the education system in the UK, which is very, very different, obviously with a very different accent, and just a lot to, it's a steep learning curve as a child, but it's still very much from a adventurous sort of background. And I'm one of three. My sisters are much, much older than me, and I'm raised by a single mother, but very, very strong woman, who now reflecting, thinking, oh my gosh, a lot of our influences was from her, but you don't realize it at the time. And because most Nigerians, like, quite ambitious, so they tend to, I think, because we don't have the barriers when you're in the majority back in Africa. When people say, what do you want to be? You don't think, oh, I can only be this, because it's not you see people in different positions. So I wanted to be an accountant, which is a bit sad, but I actually do, because most accountants you meet there are thrown into it, but I actually wanted to be one. And I think partly some of the influences, because there was just no barriers. And that's what I did. So I went off, and I became qualified accountant. I didn't think it was the big deal. Still in my head, obviously everybody else around me, because I was always sometimes the only one in the room, thought it was a big deal. But in my head, I was just like, what's the big deal here? I didn't get it. And had quite a successful career, up to 2017. And that's when things started to big change. I think as you go further up the ladder, that's when you start to experience a much more inequality, and you think, what is going on here? Because as a young accountant, I was really, really the one that people brought into the room my voice was never stifled, but it became much more political. I'm not a wallflower, so it became harder and harder to keep quiet when you didn't agree with things. And then actually, when that did come to a bit of an end, I just thought, actually, I've been, to an extent, privileged. What I would like to do is set up a company that I can package all of my experience, all of the things that I've learned, combined with my professional experience, and offer that to people, other people of color, to show them, to help them break through the barriers. So some of the stuff that I didn't learn how to deal with until very late in my career. I thought, if they could get this earlier, how much better would they have done? So things like coaching, things like mentoring, all of that we didn't have that. I don't know about you, Mary, we didn't even have those terminologies when we just had to sort of muddle through.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually have a coach until I was actually on my MBA course, and I thought, it's a light bulb moment. I thought, if I had this when I had those difficult conversations to deal with, and I didn't know how to frame it. And what we tend to find sometimes with women particularly, and also people of color, when you get stuck and you don't know what to do, you end up stepping out of the organization, because you just feel like you have no choice.
Mhm.
And then you go to another place, and then it's all right for a little while, and then you get stuck again and you move. So we are the ones that always end up moving. But if we had somebody who would helped us to be able to manage those sort of conversations, those difficult, uncomfortable conversations. And so I thought, wow, I want to set something up that's talent acquisition. So it's really about trying to connect really awesome women that I know. Because when I say to organizations, why have you not got enough women and people of color, and they say we can't find them, I'm just like, what do you mean? What do you mean you got? Where are you looking? Where are you looking? So, but what you do find is that the talent's there, but sometimes it's a confidence. Sometimes they don't get a chance to hear about these roles until it's too late. And what's wonderful about being on the inside of it is that we are getting to find out about these roles very, very early on, so we can literally tap the the diverse talent that don't hear it till sometimes it's too late, and also do whatever we can to support them. So sometimes it's whether sometimes it's coaching they need, whether it's sometimes just even if we have sometimes we have mock interviews, really, because sometimes and because it's not about the ability to do the job, but it's about sometimes the way they show up and how to present themselves and things like that. So we don't call ourselves a recruitment business. We do a lot more than that. We are helping organizations find the talent, do whatever we can to support that talent, to make sure they do show up and they give it their very best on that day. And it's been quite successful, and it's just really wonderful now that we're working with clients. I said, for example, we just placed a person of color in a really senior role, and they'd been looking for 6 months, and so it's for us caliber. We don't compromise on caliber. We do believe you do sometimes need to recruit on potential, but I almost feel like we haven't even exhausted those that are actually have got everything that's needed, but they've just not been getting the connection, or they're only looking in a certain industry. So that's one of the things we try to do, refresh. So it's very much about introducing diversity of thought. So we would never, we say you don't find them because you're looking in the same pond, right?
Yeah.
You're looking fishing in the same place. You're not going to find any new fish. So we try to
put a note out on the same, platforms. You're probably going to get a lot of the same.
Yeah, the same people, do the same thing how you've always done it. You're going to come up with the same result. So it's just been wonderful, because obviously sometimes I know where to push the boundary. So I try as much as possible to get my client to think wider. And it's wonderful. So sometimes I'll be like, I know on paper they may not look, but you just meet them, and 9 out of 10, they just like, oh my god, she's fantastic. So it's just been really wonderful, and it's so fulfilling. So it is possible to have a business, this business, my core business, have a business that is based on that has a purpose, that you're making a difference both to the client, both to the talent, and actually you feel fulfilled. So I'm really loving it, and I feel quite blessed to be in this position. And we've only just started. So just before, this business has started it just the end of 2017. This is even before all of the Black Lives Matter stuff kicked off last year. So it was good to be in a position where we'd already been building a database of this awesome talent, because I kept thinking, even if, the moral case is there, but also the business case is there. So it's been quite exciting. So that's the core business. It's called Engage Transform. And actually we are doing some work over in the States as well now.
I was just going to ask you, are you global?
We are global. Okay. I've started to reflect a bit, and actually we're now going to narrow it down to UK and US, because for me it's really about the quality of offer. And we're finding, so actually we are focused on just US and UK at the moment. And before I wanted to do the whole world, take over the world. But practically we're finding actually it's good to, and it's been wonderful. So most of the companies we deal with have base in both, and it's been nice to be able to service them. So at the moment we've got a fantastic role for a vice president for global DEI, with a really unique, and it's unique. What's wonderful about this is that the only people that come to us are people that are unique and are genuinely have bought into, let's do something different. So it's really nice to be able to sell them to our candidates and say, look, these guys think differently. And do you know how? Because I've spoken to almost all of the VPs in the organization, right? So it's not, let's just fill it quickly. We avoid those sort of roles, and just anybody will do. So we do try to do things really differently. So it's quite exciting. And we've been doing that quite successfully for probably the last 2 years, in terms of pure focus on building a role. I think the first year was really trying to get the brand out there, and it's just wonderful. And like I said, and also I hear stories. So like I said, my 2 diversity groups are women and people of colour. And the reason I focus on both is because I find even sometimes what we suspect will be a privileged white woman, sometimes some of the stories I hear of their experiences, it's quite shocking actually. And so most recently I had a lady say that she was her director was saying to her, how dare she applies for a certain role, this lady, and she was just so broken, and that happened 2 years ago, but it still impacted her confidence. So we're trying to help her rebuild that and actually give her the opportunities. So we're so family. So we're sort of so it's actually just working with people from wherever they are to try and get them to where they need to be. I don't know if you had any
So
questions.
how do you find the talent that you're
Oh
bringing?
my gosh. Do you know, sometimes I sit there and think, how did I find that awesome person? No, sometimes people apply to us because, again, we're very much looking for diversity of thought. So I always talk about my sort of my Russian CFO, this wonderful young man who left Russia, came to this country to do his MBA. And actually we had a CFO role that the CEO was very adamant about the type of mindset he wanted. And he just refused to settle for anybody. And this young man applied on our website, but actually his CV was a little bit. But I thought I could see after speaking to him that he had the skills that was required, and so we worked on it with him, and he actually found the role. So sometimes people apply to us directly because, again, they know we're different. So people that are looking for an agency that genuinely cares about their journey, and actually genuinely cares about trying to match them as closely as possible to an organization that the values match, they'll come to us, which is wonderful. So it's about 50%. Somebody just applied from US to a role, and I'm just like, how did you find us? She goes, oh, as soon as she looked me up, she felt, and that's what's nice about it. When people say, where'd you find them? I think what people are now doing is they're not going to anyone anymore. They're thinking, right, if I can align with the individual that owns that business, I feel that they will be seeing me not just a number, just another candidate, but they would actually invest some time. So we do get, it's about 50-50, and we just use our network. So we're constantly trying to, connect and use different networks. And that's what I've always been one to connect people anyway. So naturally, I'm always trying to connect. So as soon as you start speaking to me, I'm thinking, who can I connect? I'm just naturally that, who can I connect Mary with? Who can I, so it's just
That's
one,
me. That's me.
so yeah, so it's about 50-50. And then sometimes we do go out there. We do, I also believe in investing in the sort of the best AI tools. So we have tools that will do a search, but an intelligent search in terms of the specific things we're looking for. And that helps as well. So I would say it's about half
Mhm.
half and half
Mhm.
in terms of
That's
headhunting. And
fantastic. Okay, so partnerships, collaborations. If I would ask you, who would you be interested in partnering with? What types of organizations or companies would interest you?
right. So what's really interesting in terms of for client wise, yeah, that in terms of who appeals our services, we're trying to avoid being industry specific. And now I know there's lots of history out there to say you need to be niche, but actually our niche are organizations that care about equity. So we want to work with organizations that have really they've done their own sort of honest conversations internally and said, right, okay, we've tried everything else, we're not moving the needle. Let's look out there for those who want to partner with us. Those are the sort of organizations we're looking for. Organizations where at leadership level they genuinely understand the diversity of thought. We do not want those that are doing it from a compliance perspective because they just don't want to, or for those that just do it for the optics. Because what you find those organizations is, they may bring the talent in, but it wouldn't take the talent to recognize that there's no genuine commitment. So we just say to people that, and sometimes we're happy to do that journey with them at the beginning to see where they are and have that really honest conversation. So one of our global clients is wonderful. We're going to go in and do some work with the VPs to go, right, okay, if you want somebody that has got this specific background, you're already narrowing down your pool. So what is it that actually do you need, right? So what is it that you're looking for in a leader? And can we start to look for maybe a related industry? Because if you want, I don't know, somebody who's got 30 years of experience without giving them away who they are in this specific thing, guess who you're going to find? The same people, right? But how open are you? And it's taking on that journey. And then at the same time, also with a candidate, how open are you when you're given this opportunity to do the work that is required to get up to speed? So I deliberately in my career moved every 4 years to different industries, but I recognize there may be a gap, so that I'd invest the time before I start to make sure that when I do start, within 2 or 3 months, everybody thinks I've been in the industry for a long time, right? So it has to be a give and take, yeah? So it has to be both ways. So that's the type of organizations we're looking for. Organizations that have done a deep dive, they are honest about where they are. They're ready to say, look, there is a gap. Let's not deny we have got a gap here. And we want to actually work with somebody who would help us to think outside of boxes, because it's risk. People don't want to take risk. It's easier, and I was naughty as well when I was a CFO, right? It's easier to just go, if this person's got XYZ, they're going to be excellent. In actual fact, where somebody else may not necessarily have tick all of the boxes, but actually what they bring is a different
Yeah,
thought process,
yeah.
and which challenge health.
I think sometimes, I've had in my lifetime had to be a hiring agent as well. And I think as much as experience, you're looking for that right fit, that personality that's going to fit with everybody well, and that maybe has the interest and the potential for moving up. And you need to be able to kind of see that in them when you have that interview.
Yeah.
This is great. This is great. So where do you think you're headed with this? Because it's 2017, you started this, you're rolling along now, and you now have it defined that it's the UK market and the US market. Where do you see yourself going with this?
Oh my gosh, it's just so exciting because because the thing is about it as well, what's really wonderful is creating this what I'm enjoying more than, it's obviously the match is really key, matching great talent with great organizations. But what I'm really loving is now the opportunity to even talk to the leadership team, to start to get them to think really differently. Because ultimately, we're getting to the point where people now start to see, oh my gosh, this does actually, apart from the moral case for diversity, actually it's going to, the only way we're going to speed up innovation is by having different people around the room. So where we see ourselves going is being that valued partner for organizations that recognize that it's not just bringing the talent in, but retaining them. And actually then when they do come in, giving them the ability, because sometimes what organizations do, they bring people in because they're different, and then they try to put you in a straitjacket. So all your difference, so everything they bought, they lose it.
Discounts the entire reason why you brought that person on board.
Yes. So we
here to put that check mark in the box, but we're not going to listen to you.
Yeah. So it's quite nice. So I think actually in not necessarily this year, but next year probably may start to develop a bit of a consultancy in terms of actually making sure those individuals are actually properly embedded in the organizations, and the value, that the reason why they brought them in is actually being then delivered internally. So there's going to be a little bit of work around that, but at the moment, I mean, we're doing okay, but I want those that are out there and they're just saying we can't find them, to say, look, try us. We'd love to work with organizations that have actually had already, like I said, it's really important that they've already had the honest conversation internally, because so that's what we're looking for. And then as a result of kind of what happened last year, I was thinking it was still even too slow for me, because I was thinking, okay, we need to change things a lot quicker. And that's why I created a new company called a non-for-profit company called Building Inclusive Boards. Yes. So my mission has always been to influence at the top, because we felt that it's great to bring diverse talent in at the junior level, but because they're so junior, they don't necessarily are able to influence decisions. So you find all of the work that the McKinseys have done in terms of the value of having diverse talent is when you have them at leadership level. But I was quite conscious that particularly in UK, the boards, I'm not sure what the US boards are like, but there's just very, very low representation. And obviously these are the guys that make decisions. These are the guys that influence. These are the guys that drive the direction. And that's why we set up this Building Inclusive Board. It is not a recruitment business. It's actually the opportunity to train up those who are interested operating at that level, because it's not everybody's interest. It's a big, it's not an easy, it's a big weight to carry. But those who want to, but they've been frustrated, or they've been left out, or they've not been, that is to train them by giving them an opportunity to actually sit on the board for 12 months. So they're actually in the room. One of my favorite quotes is, if you don't give us a seat at the table, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And that's effectively the concept.
Yeah.
That's the concept really of this seat that we're going to every board to say, look, give us a seat. It's a training seat, it's a development seat, and it's about building succession planning. So that when in a year's time or 2 years' time, when you do go out to the market to look for those who are board ready, you've got this pool of talent to pull on. And that, again, that's been really interesting, because it's about mentoring. It's about that reverse mentoring as well. So a lot of our talent that goes there, the board are also learning from them, because sometimes they may be the only people of color that they at that level they connect with. As you know, at that level, usually in UK, is normally people that are definitely over 50s or 60s. 80% male, and 90% white. So it's even at that peak level, it's even less diverse. And actually, they're a bit more open to the trial, because you're not saying to them, recruit this individual. You're just saying, actually train this, and then they become quite invested, because it becomes a little bit the project, and they get quite invested in that individual, and they mentor them and help them, and then that person also sees how it works in the room, as opposed to trying to second guess. So that's one of the things we've set up, and we've got an ambitious target to train up about 500.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Making a
So
note.
yeah, 500 by 2026. So that's quite an exciting one. And obviously that can continue to just grow. And it just means we now have a pool that companies can pull to, that can get talent from.
Yeah.
And it just removes that excuse. And yeah, so the core business, we need more quality clients, really. Yeah, and then obviously as they come, the candidates, they're not, we've got a database of candidates that are ready. But again, they very much more. So what I say to my clients these days is no longer, you cannot come into this as if it's not a charitable thing you're doing. It's you need to come in because this talent, they know their worth now. They know that they bring difference to the table. So it's got to be that right perspective of
Okay.
they are also going to bring something to your organization, really.
Girl, I'm telling you, you're changing lives. I can say, we always like to talk about impact, and maybe it's a little bit premature to talk about impact in numbers with you. But if you want to, you can share that. But I can say, I can see where the impact is going. I can see where you're trying to make that change and that difference. So that's easy enough for anybody to see. We just want to follow along and help you out with that. As you were talking about, and what always happens with me, because I'm a connector, is I write down names, and a lot of them are usually names from my business development pool that we call the Frontrunners League. That's the companion. You're now one because you're interviewed. We drop you into the Frontrunners League, and so you become part of my business development pool of people that we try to put people in front of to expand impact. And so I have two that are from the UK, and both of them work with corporations in different ways. And so, when you talk about seeing, I don't know that everybody sees things the way that I do, but when you talk about partnerships and collaborators, I see who has your audience or wants yours, who has your audience or who might want yours. And that's where the gap is for opportunity. And I've got one gentleman who works in the wellness, I guess you call it wellness space, but it's mental wellness. And he comes from that aspect and has worked with corporations on creating charters to create mental wellness situations within the workplace. And another one that does data privacy and has built an entire association, professional association, with people in corporations whose role it is to create that compliance with the GDPR and the data privacy rules. And so she's actually a channel host for our Frontrunners Innovate, and her name is Penny. But these two individuals, because they work within they work in corporations, they also work in the UK and the US. I know Penny does because I've sent her somebody that's now a client of hers that is in the US. I think these two people would be really valuable folks for you. But the biggest thing, and when you started talking about the talent pool, and that's why I asked you about the talent that where you got them from and that kind of thing, is connecting you to one of our business partners, which is the Black Women Empowered organization.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the gal who runs that actually came from a corporate background and did really well from a mentoring standpoint. She had a mentor that was actually a white guy, an Irish white guy, redheaded, who looked after her and helped her move right on up the chain and kept her into that space to where she could probably walk away, with a nice retirement or whatever, and do what she's doing now. And her Black Women Empowered network is in the millions.
Oh, wow.
The millions, yes.
Wow.
Not everybody is Black, not everybody is a woman, but I'd say the majority probably are, out of the US and UK and surrounding countries. I'm thinking you two could hit it off.
Oh, yes, please.
You think? So professional women, yes. Other types of, whether they be independent workers or whatever, it's all different kinds. Just yesterday, I went to her because one of my network members was looking for a business partner in the wealth building and fintech finance space. And he runs a fund, and he was looking for a female partner to run that fund, and one that had a good backstory that would be good with media and television and that kind of thing, because he has been doing that and he wants to kind of turn that over to somebody else and let him do other things. So he's looking for a business partner. And so I went to her and I said, who do you have? What woman do you have that's, you know, in your network? I had a few to bring him, but I wanted to give him some options.
Yes.
Because fit is important, right? And I knew one that had a really interesting background, so I brought her. And this gal who runs this network brought me somebody who brought me another one. And so I was able to service him in that way and bring that forward to you. And I don't get into recruitment, but this is just, you know, kind of a favor he was asking. You know, I do business development in social impact spaces. And so if it's an innovator or a world problem solver, I'm kind of in the middle of the thing, you know, trying to kind of make the connections for them. But I could so see you doing a lot of that as well. I mean, I could see that as being a side business of what you're doing. And I train people to do that, by the way, to create the connections piece is a whole separate thing that gets, you know, on contract. But and how to do it is different from what a lot of people would think. And, you know, I don't sell widgets. I just sell conversations with people. I just do it really well. But what I would say is I'm just thrilled to death that you're doing this. You're the first person that I've come across that's doing it the way that you're doing it. And I hope that you just grow like crazy, because what you're doing from the boardroom and from the perspective of women and women of color in these positions and in board positions is really critical to the way that we move forward as human beings in this world. So congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we will drop the links to everything that you share with us and that sort of thing into the description. If you all are watching this on YouTube, it will be in the description. If you're watching this on Frontrunners Innovate, it will be below the actual interview that you see here. And so look for this and more, you know, interviews that we do with people who are so wonderful, like Yemi, at www.frontrunnersinnovate.com. And so thank you, Yemi, and we will be checking you and following up on you and see what you're.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye-bye.